Welcome to the Daily Beast podcast. I'm Joanna Cole, Chief Content Officer of the Daily Beast.
And I am Samantha B, Chief Content Officer of our new Liberation Day festivities. What do you have planned, Joanna? We're going to be liberated from $10 eggs and catapulted into a world of $18 eggs. I'm so excited for it.
I'm going to be eating 25% more carbs.
I think that's a wise decision.
Well, this week we're doing things a little differently. We are coming to you from the incredible Zero Bond Social Club in the heart of Soho in New York City. Actually, that's not quite right. We're actually in NoHo, where we are recording our first ever live podcast in front of a real audience. And for those who don't yet know, who aren't regular listeners, each week Sam and I download on the biggest stories that come out of the Daily Beast.
Yes.
And we're often joined by some of our illustrious reporters, as well as our beasts of the week, where we go in depth with incredible guests, like the Pod Save America guys. We've had John Oliver, Mika Brzezinski, Jim Gaffigan, Isaac Mizrahi, Michael Wolff, James Carville, Adam Grant.
We've had Senator Cory Booker, who is still talking. He's still talking. How many minutes away is he from beating the record? I think he's like 15 minutes away.
He may have already.
Oh, he may have already done it.
15 minutes.
He's 15 minutes away. He's been speaking for 24 hours straight. Oh, God, I love Cory Booker so much.
I think we inspired him when he came on the podcast. He talked a lot then.
That's it.
I think he was like, I like this talking thing. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, it was us for sure.
I think so.
Oh, he has such a big heart. My goodness.
I mentioned that last week we interviewed Amber Ruffin.
We did.
About her plans to perform at the White House Correspondents.
We did.
And what happened?
She was summarily uninvited to the event, and I don't think, I think je ne regrette rien. She does not feel badly about it. She's talked about it on Seth Meyers, and she made comments on our podcast, and people took issue with them, even though I think they were very valid comments, and the White House Correspondents Association took a very weak position and uninvited her, and then pretended like that had been in the works for a long time, and it really has been very uninspiring, actually. That's quite uninspiring. I was quite angry.
Yeah, it was strangely unrobust of them to uninvite her, having told everybody how excited they were to have her.
Yes, unrobust is a great way to describe it. And you know, I'm not 100% sure what the association does as an association, but I know that they do fund lots of journalism scholarships every year. And I have to say that if I was a student of journalism right now, I would look at their actions and think, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what a position to take in this time. We need a serious association that is unafraid to stand for something, to take risks, and here we are. I don't know. What do you want this event to be? Why does this event exist? Is this event an anachronism? I believe it is.
I don't believe it's an anachronism, and I think one of the important things, and one of the things that differentiates America from other countries, is that actually it's one of the rare occasions, it's the only day in the year where the president sits in a room and is prepared to be roasted by a comedian.
Okay, well,
and
not
that's
this
the
one.
difference. Right,
Yeah.
not this one, but that's the difference between a democracy and autocracy, right?
Right.
What was the first thing Putin did?
Well, he shut down, they literally stormed a recording studio and shut down a puppet show, a satirical puppet show that made fun of him. You know, one of the first things they all do is shut down the comedians. So here we are, once again.
The last bastion of freedom. Zero
That's
Bond.
right.
Social club in NoHo. Don Lemon is already heckling us from the audience.
He broke the record.
He just broke
At
the
7:18, it's 7:24.
Inspired by you, Joanna Cole. Cory Booker did it.
Go Cory.
Yep.
Go Cory. So I just need to know what you've been doing since I last saw you. Just come back from Paris. You'd eaten a wheel of brie every day, and you climbed a mountain of baguettes.
You kiss the morning. You kiss the morning with a wheel of camembert. That's how you greet the day. I'm back from Paris, but you were doing something so much more interesting. You were at a big, like, high-powered huddle somewhere at an undisclosed location. You choppered to the top of a mountain with all of these very huge people. Tell me what you were doing without saying too much. We don't want you to be we don't want you to be disappeared off the streets, as is happening, seemingly.
It really is happening, isn't it? Are there any people with tattoos here? Because if there are, you may get arrested while we're sitting here. I'm just saying, especially facial tattoos. I'm glad you had yours lasered off. I was with various members of the cabinet and some senior people in the tech world, and I will say that I came away thinking that this is about radical change. There is no incrementalism here, and that the White House is filled with people, and the executive buildings are filled with people who are giddy with power. Giddy with power.
I need to personally backtrack because I don't even know why this event would exist. So can you just describe, how much can you say about it and why a huddle like this would occur outside of DC or outside of any kind of major city? What was it for? Is it a think tank, like a get together?
Yeah, it was a kind of think tank, and powerful people like to hang out with other powerful people, and celebs like to hang out with celebs because they think that regular people don't count anymore. And it was a very interesting insight into the excitement of the business community, which is overlooked in the arrival of Donald Trump, and extreme frustration, which I certainly share a little bit, of how the Biden administration was not friendly to business and never met an amendment to a law they didn't want to insert, and this feeling that business is massively constrained by huge over-regulation in America and the difficulty of getting anything done.
Well, tell me what a think tank is for when everything is really just directed by the whims of one person. What is able to be accomplished by just having smart or, successful people all together in a seed bank in an underground lair? I assume it was in some type of lair.
I think it's really aimed at the deep bureaucracy, and Elon Musk addressed the group, and he was very clear that they're trying to figure out they're trying to figure out the deficit.
I got a bubble in my stomach.
And they're believers. These are believers in the Trump methodology, and very frustrated under the previous government.
God, did they try to pull you into a curtained room and brand you or anything like that? Was there any?
There was no Handmaid's Tale behaviour.
Oh my!
But it was an insight into just the excitement with which a whole new group of people are going into Washington to make radical change.
Well, radical change is certainly happening. I'm just trying to imagine you with this Daily Beast podcast. How many people did you ask to be on the podcast? Be honest.
Well, I asked everybody I met to be on the podcast, and they all looked kind of horrified. They backed away. They backed away. They were like, "Stay away from me." I was one of two journalists there, so it was very interesting from my point of view.
Really?
And and there is no sense of any real opposition, and they're going to get on with it.
Okay, so they feel totally enabled, very excited for all of the chaos, but how can they? The thing that I really just don't understand is how business leaders could be so excited for all of the chaos, for the tariffs, for the day of liberation, which I can't even say with
I'm
a
not
straight
sure
face.
they are excited for the chaos. I don't think anybody wants chaos, but they are excited for change. They're excited for a rolling back of regulations that people feel have really stopped them from innovating. And there is extreme anxiety that the Chinese are... there were all sorts of discussions about AI, which were very interesting. David Sachs was there, Sam Altman was there, Reid Hoffman was there, a lot of people talking about AI, and the feeling that China is 3 months behind, not 2 years behind, and that if America doesn't get its shit together, it will be obliterated in the AI war.
So what was the overwhelming feeling that you, I don't understand the circles that you roll in.
Well,
I am not party to those conversations at all.
I mean,
Oh my God.
well, what's interesting is hanging out with Sam. Sam says, well, the law will protect us.
No,
you know,
I don't.
Well,
I
you do
don't
a little
think
bit. You
it's-
do. You
I
talk
want it
about.
to protect us. I don't think it's going to.
There was no recognition that this was anything other than a radical mandate for change, and that's what they're doing.
That's what there's no apology, no bad feeling, no
Why
second
would they
guessing.
apologise? They got elected. They're moving forward, and we've got this AI coming at us, and everybody's trying to figure out how fast we are going to be able to incorporate it into corporate life, into government, into everything.
Life goes on for these people. It just does not touch them at all. Real life does not touch them in any way. It feels to me like, I'm so sorry, we're doing this in front of an audience and I'm taking it down to such a note, but like, there's no empathy, there's no human emotion flowing out of that. There's no thought. Is there any thought or any conversation
Yeah, there's a lot
about
of thought about
consequence?
how much money there is to be made.
I
There is a
feel-
lot of thought about how much money and how much opportunity there is.
Oh, God, the aliens had an opportunity to beam everyone onto a spaceship and they missed it.
Well, Elon did say we will be on Mars in 10 years.
Just
And he
him.
did say that he would
Him
be,
and him alone.
and he did say he would
Go
do this
there.
for 3 more months and then he was done. 3 more months and then he was done.
3 more months of the chaos that he is sowing.
3 more months with
Across-
chainsaw.
3 more months, that's 90 full days. That's a lot more damage that can be done. Psychically, also, there's psychic damage being done. So no thought of consequences, just a whole lot of thinking about money. I've done it all wrong. I think about consequences eternally. I think about it all the time. It actually, I find it, I'm sweating from places I didn't know I could sweat from, just having this conversation.
Okay, now you're talking in front of an audience. They
I
don't
know.
want to hear about you sweating,
I know.
but they do want to hear about Don Lemon sweating.
They
So I think
do.
it's about time we called up our guest.
Shall we?
Back by popular demand.
Are you ready?
Former CNN host and now killing it on YouTube with his
Yes.
own twice daily show, The Don Lemon Show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. And now on Substack.
And now on Substack.
I'm getting my writing on. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to write for you. Why haven't you ever
Yeah, I
asked
would
me to
love
write?
you to. We'd love you to write for
Yeah.
us.
Hi,
Consider
Sam.
it done.
Hi.
Hi, Sam.
I want you to
Hi,
write
Joanna.
for me.
How are
I
you?
don't
Good
have
to
a
see you.
platform.
You don't have.
You know, one day. It's so exciting.
Hi, everybody.
It's exciting to have you here. We
Hi,
all want to
everybody.
know. We all want to know what you're thinking about. What is happening right now? You were on your phone, just even sitting over on the couch. You can't pry yourself
You saw
away.
that, right?
I did.
I'm getting news. I
Of
saw
course.
Donald Trump's approval rating is at its lowest ever right now. It just
Where
hit
is it?
56% disapprove, 42% of the in this poll.
That's
approve
not
of
a
this job.
tantalizing enough number for
And
me.
then-
I think it's
you want like
a
zero.
lot lower than that.
And then Cory Booker broke Strom Thurmond's record, which I'm really
Fantastic.
happy about.
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And he's still going.
And he is still going.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's still going. Oh
Yeah.
my God, his heart is so good.
How does he, I don't think he could go to the bathroom. No, that was the biggest question
Do
I've
you
gotten
not
all
get
day.
breaks?
I mean, you know, maybe it could be like an astronaut,
And a
thing, like the
diaper?
diaper, or
I actually
don't
feel
think
like-
Cory Booker wears that.
I think that I feel like when Ted Cruz did it, when he did it, but less
Yeah,
successfully
Ted
than Cory
Cruz.
Booker. I think that he got bathroom breaks.
He did.
And like a sandwich break.
well, I noticed that earlier they were
Sandwich
taking
break.
Yes.
a sandwich break. I don't
Yeah.
think, really?
Someone brings you a turkey club.
Yeah.
Let's go to a safe place.
Chris Murphy said you can train your body if you are motivated enough, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Corey
Have you guys ever
has
gone
it in
24
him.
hours without peeing? No.
Everybody's
I'm
shaking.
not-
That was the
Yeah.
biggest question I got today. Was like, how does he go to the bathroom? Is he going to the bathroom? Which was a very, I think,
Well,
a
I
very
think
good
if you
question.
just don't drink water, you'll be fine, right? You may get dehydrated by the end of it. All right, I
Yeah.
have a question for you, Don. Whose Signal group chat would you most like to be
Yeah.
accidentally invited to?
Yes.
Oh my God! You asked. I forgot because I had a margarita and you asked me this.
Oh, I'm gonna take a sip of
Oh,
my
a
margarita.
Signal chat with. Ooh,
Boy, oh boy.
yeah, that's a good
A
one.
lot of our government must be operating
In government,
on
just
Signal.
anybody.
Well, anybody at all.
I would say it would be. Can I say Jay-Z and Beyonce? That's
Oh.
kind of boring, right?
Yeah, really?
No,
That
not
must
really.
be
I wouldn't
more
care.
interesting. I think more interesting.
I would like to be on a Signal group chat with Elon Musk, Donald Trump,
Well, that would be enough.
J.D. Vance,
Yeah.
and I got one, and Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
That's it.
I think they will invite you at some point.
That's enough.
So do we think that Mike Waltz and Jeffrey Goldberg are in fact in regular contact?
I think that Mike Waltz is a contact, is a source for Jeffrey Goldberg.
So do we think he's actually deep state, Mike Waltz?
I just think he's a blabbermouth. I think that he's a thirsty person. He's a pick-me, right? And so seriously, so I think he probably, hey, I got some information for you if you write something good about me. And so I think he was a source. I think Donald Trump knows that he was a source. He knows he's a source. That's why he has to say, oh, this is the worst person ever. He's so dumb and he's so stupid. And Jeffrey is being a little coy about it because we don't like to give our sources away. Right. So Jeffrey's he's saying he doesn't know me, but his number's in my phone. You get it.
But there are so many leakers. I mean, there are always people willing to give information. It seems to me this administration is just a leaky boat. I mean, we talked to Michael Wolff about it. He has so many people talking to him all the time. People are competing to give him their scoops, and they want to get theirs. I mean, that's what he told us, is that people they want to get their side of the story out before anybody else gets it out, because they're all so suspicious of each other, and it's such a cutthroat place.
And they want to curry favor with the reporter or whatever, so that the reporter will write something good about them, because they're all hungry.
Right. Yeah.
They're all
everybody's hungry.
egomaniacs.
Well, and I think they all dislike each other, right? So they're all giving stories about each other to the press because they all want to be. I mean, I'm always struck by the analogy to the royal family that Princess Diana used to talk regularly to the Daily Mail, and on a Friday she would have a regular weekly date with the Daily Mail where she would tell them everything about what was going on with her divorce with Prince Charles, then Prince Charles, now obviously King Charles. The Daily Mail would then run the front page with all these juicy details, and Diana would come out and say, this is outrageous, why are they doing this to me, I'm being persecuted by the tabloid press. Meanwhile, she was the source.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of that going on here, that they tell tales about each other, they're all suspicious of each other, and Donald Trump knows that and plays them like that.
But don't you know, you're from the UK, right? So
No.
Where are you from?
No, I'm from Brooklyn, Don. Of course I'm from the UK.
Okay, so because I get that, and in Australian it just depends. It's like a little bit off. Sorry,
So
I do, Crocky. I never know. Okay, so
Can I just tell you one thing, that a friend of mine went into Australia recently, and when he was being interviewed by the the equivalent of their customs people or whatever, immigration people going through, and they said to him, he filled out his form, and they said, do you have a criminal record? And he said, do you still need one to come here? Immediately pulled aside for secondaries, immediately. But I thought, almost worth it, almost worth it.
that's so good.
That's so funny.
And how crazy is the story about Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who got hit by a bus? Have you been following that?
No, I haven't.
So she was the big accuser of, certainly Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew did a $14 million settlement with her, saying he'd never slept with her, but here's $14 million, just in case I forgot, through Epstein. She was the big Epstein accuser.
She was a minor at the time.
Yeah.
Was she? Yeah, okay, got it.
Well, she claims that she was traded for sex and abused by Ghislaine and by Jeffrey Epstein. But she posted earlier this week, for those who haven't seen it, pictures of herself looking absolutely terrible, saying she'd been given 4 days to live because she'd been hit in a car accident by a school bus.
Yes.
Oh,
Crazy,
wow.
crazy story.
It's crazy.
Do you think they set it up?
With that, it's so difficult to know, isn't it? It's so hard not to think maybe there are a lot of people who want her out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I hope she's okay, but you get hit by a bus.
Right.
I was literally, for people who cannot see this, I'm sitting over here and my mouth is I can't even open.
Well,
She got hit by a bus.
She was hit by a bus.
Are you buying it?
God, I'm just.
she's been school bused.
Now
Yeah.
she's been school bused.
She's been school bused.
And she lived to tell the. Well, she lived to tell the tale.
She said 2 days ago she had 4 days left to live.
Oh,
so
wow. Oof.
Yeah.
Awful. Sorry.
Oh.
But it sounds Suspicious.
All right, let's move
Okay.
swiftly on.
No.
We'll move swiftly on to
Okay.
Don. Should CNN attend the White House Correspondents' dinner?
Why wouldn't they?
Amber Ruffin works for them.
Well, Amber Ruffin doesn't work for CNN. She's a contracted
Does she?
employee.
Oh,
A
that's
contracted
true.
employee. Yeah, I think that they
Been to
should.
it. Did you like it? Do you
I
like
actually
that
loved
event?
it.
You did?
Yeah, I think that's
Me
the whole
too.
point. The whole point of it
like
is
it
to
too?
roast people.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And for them to, somehow, have this sort of, what do you call it, snowflake attitude towards
Right.
a comedian being there. Remember, the people that she's going to criticize, many of them, especially the Trump folks and on the right, they are the free speech absolutist people. Of
course.
Let comedians be comedians. What does Elon Musk say? Like, make
Comedy
comedy
legal
legal
again.
again. And so
Yeah.
then that has to be for everybody if you're going to do. So I don't understand why the White House Correspondents Association did it.
No.
And I believe, I spoke with Larry Wilmore last night, who did the 2016. He was the comedian in 2016, and he made a joke about me, and I flipped him off live on
Well,
television.
tell everybody the joke, because that was a good
He
joke. And this
said-
was Obama's last year.
He said there were some world-class journalists, or the best journalists in the world are here, and Don Lemon is also here too. Alleged journalist. And then it was a natural thing, so I was in the crowd and I did this, and the cameras got me, and people were wondering if I was going to get fired, and my boss was like, no, that's pretty fucking awesome. That's great that you did that. But it was just a natural reaction. Larry Wilmore and I are friends. I interviewed him last night about Amber Ruffin, and he's on my side. It's supposed to be a roast, but not all things are equal, right? But in comedy, you can find, look, just the last 70 some days or the last week was enough for an entire routine, right? At the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah.
Just the whole signal gate of it would be a routine. I mean, it writes itself. How dumb are they just to do what they did?
So dumb.
And by the way, the other breaking news I found out as I was sitting there, that other members of the Trump administration have been using Gmail
Stop
to
it
conduct
right
government business,
now.
including Mike Waltz. Yeah.
You stop it.
No, I'm serious, but her emails.
But her emails, I can't with these people. I really can't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it pains me how much the story of Signalgate kind of left the public view. It actually hurts. I'm hoping that this story elevates it again, because I think it's really important. I think it's so emblematic of how sloppy they are, how careless they are.
Do you think that
What
Donald
losers
Trump?
they are.
Well, do you think Donald Trump introduced the idea of running for a third term to distract from Signalgate?
No.
No. But
They've been talking about it for a while. Steve Bannon was talking about it before
Yeah.
Signalgate even happened, but
I definitely think he's erratic and operates on a very primal level. I think it had the effect of turning people's attention away from Signalgate, but we have a really hard time staying with one story when so many stories are happening, like moment by moment. I mean, firing all of those workers today, like the whole, it's too
Well, Health and
distressing.
Human Services,
I mean,
10,000
it's
jobs to
12,000
go.
incredible.
Yeah, that doesn't sit well
It's
with the public. I think that's gonna.
incredible. No.
I think that's gonna backfire. I think that's gonna be the thing. I actually do think that Signalgate is going to stick. It's gonna take a while. And one, it's funny, right? Laughable. I'm not laughing.
Well, and
with
people
them.
can understand it, right? Sometimes
It's
government
simple. That's what I was
is,
gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah.
It's easy to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've all done it. We've
Yeah.
all fired off an email reply, or which we shouldn't have done. Not you, Sam, but everybody else.
Never.
And I think those small things where people realise, oh my God, I can't believe he did that, and it's national security at the heart of it, doesn't sit well with
Have you
people. I
sent an
agree.
email to someone you were talking shit about?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And what happened?
Weird thing. Well, you're like, oh my God, I didn't mean it. Yeah, it's very tricky.
That was for the
Very
other Joanna
tricky.
Coles. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I actually invited you to a dinner this week. The wrong
You
Don.
did?
The wrong Don.
Oh, that's right. You Signalgated
Yeah,
me.
I signal-gated.
She
That's
said,
good. We
have
should
dinner
turn it
with
into a
us
verb.
in the UK. Is it on the 10th? When is it?
Yeah, 19th.
On the 19th.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, she's like, oops, wrong Don. I'm like, I thought she was
sorry about
flying me to the UK to have dinner.
Well,
No?
I will. Right?
Don't
yeah.
you think she should? Round of applause, should she?
Seriously.
You should invite me.
You really can only talk shit about people live and in person. You have to make
Exactly
that's
right.
what phone calls are for.
Who
That's
call,
the
I mean,
only
who
reason
has
to
a
have a
phone
phone call.
call? I mean, it's kind of weird to have a phone call.
It is? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
not a lot of people. I talk on the phone rarely. Either it's
Yes.
like a Zoom with my team, or I talk on the phone with my mother.
Right.
Everybody else is pretty much a text or an email.
Well, your mother appreciates that.
She does. You got to talk to mom.
You've got to talk
Yeah,
to your
moms
mother.
and like sisters and siblings. You got to talk to them. But I don't have a lot of phone calls. You guys have a lot of phone calls? I don't do a lot of phone calls. You do? I don't know. Phone calls to me are like meetings. Like this could have been an email.
Oh my God, that's terrible. All right, so listen, we want to know how the Don Lemon show is going. You started twice a day. I thought you'll never have enough news to fill twice a day.
my
Now I
gosh.
think you should be doing 6 times a
I
day.
think 6 times a day would be an appropriate choice because you've already done you've done
Yeah.
2 live streams today.
Honestly, I have. But you know what? The thing is, I started at 5 o'clock. I started doing, my show was going to be like 3 days a week, an interview show, which was just sort of, I thought kind of boring after I started doing it. It was like, this is kind of like I was doing a CNN and it's boring. I don't have a connection to my audience. I started live at 5 in my living room. It took off. People were like, get out of the stupid studio. It looks like cable news. Do it in your living room. And then I said, okay, after the election, maybe there'll be a different outcome and I won't have to cover politics so much. But then Donald Trump was elected again and he takes over everything in the zeitgeist, including sports, arts, Kennedy Center now. He's in
Yes,
charge of that.
that's
And
right.
so now, I started at 10 a.m., lots of news. Now I feel like I should just go from 10 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. With just my own like mini sort of news station because
Right.
there's so much news. When I sign off at 11 or 11:30, there are so many people watching that I hate to just leave them there on the board.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If something broke at 10 o'clock at night, which often it really does,
Yeah.
would you do a
Yeah.
special, would you
I'd-
just go back
I'd
on
go
and
right
just
on.
like fire it up?
Yeah, I'd fire it up, and especially now on Substack. Substack
Yeah.
is so easy. It's just you hit one button and you're live. I decide about sort of overnight what's happening, and then
Yeah.
maybe an hour or two before the show because. In the morning, you want to inform people, right?
Right.
At 10 o'clock, they've kind of seen the boring morning shows, and then you just.
I like that you're taking a position on morning shows.
Oh my
That's
God.
dramatic. No, they are morning.
I know, but the thing is that I used to love morning shows. I wouldn't miss the first 20
Okay.
minutes of the Today Show. But now they've just become vehicles to sell books or entertainment. I have a
Right.
project, and so you get a little bit of news, and the rest of it is just kind of fluff. And so I don't really like morning shows. And so, anyways, yeah, that's it.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
not a big
Are you
fan.
going to go do a live stream right after this? Something?
I'm going to do a live stream and talk about how Sam B was drunk off her
much
ass on margaritas.
So much salt,
and
just
she-
like inflating.
And she was bloated from the
Yep.
salt. Yeah.
Yep.
And then,
Her skin
and then she
was
proclaimed her
drying.
love for MAGA. I mean, it was.
Do you find operating in this environment you're self-censoring?
No. Am I self-censoring?
Yeah.
I have to make myself not because I've been trained for so long to self-censor in real time.
Right.
or-
What is that? How do you do that? How do you untether yourself from that?
It takes a bit of time. I think I'm
Right.
just starting to really do it. I had a moment back right at the end of the year last year where there was this whole controversy about the H-1B visas, and they were like
Yeah.
we're going to kick all these people out, and then Vivek came around and said, oh, we don't want the H-1B visas. He was saying it's good.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Vivek Ramaswamy. It was good for whatever Indian people, and I've done this. And then the Trump folks, the MAGA folks came about and said, hell no, we don't want any immigration. And they were so racist about it. And I just got on and I started laughing. I'm like, you fucking idiots, you didn't realize. And people were like, the head of my social media, they're like, dude, what did you do today? Like, your social media is blowing up because
Right.
that's how people really feel. They just want you to be authentic and real.
Right.
And so I try not to self-censor now because I am beholden to me, not
Right.
a corporation. I don't represent 4,500 people around the world who are in war zones. It's just me, and I can say whatever the fuck I want.
How do you handle it, I guess, when a story, because you can read a lot of stories and a lot of news is happening and it's all very tragic, it's very, it's compelling, but then occasionally, I think for myself, a smaller story will bubble up and it really is very affecting. How do you handle that?
What do you mean, the small story?
Well,
What?
the story of the man who was deported to El Salvador.
Oh my
and
God, I've been covering that.
I'm-
Not just
Well,
him. and there are-
even Joe Rogan stepped in
I
to
mean,
support them.
I
and
talked
not-
about Joe Rogan today. Look, I said,
God.
mark your calendars. I agree with Joe Rogan. Maybe hell
Yeah.
is frozen over, but it's But honestly, and then at the end I said, but it's a little late for moral clarity.
Yeah.
Because for someone to think that Donald Trump, honestly, I don't care what your political affiliation is, that he is somehow going to act in a democratic way, when he told you what he was going to do, when you endorsed him and you asked people to vote for him and you voted for him, it's a little late for moral clarity. It's sad that they're picking up people off of the street and basically kidnapping them or abducting them, but I'm shocked that you're shocked that he's doing it. And
I'm shocked that he's shocked, and I'm shocked that we're not going to try to bring him back.
no, there's no
path.
incentive
mechanism.
structure. There is a path. We're the United States of America. We could do whatever we want. If we want to bring them back, we could. But there's no incentive structure for them because, number one, they don't want people getting on the news and telling their story because they're afraid that public sentiment would not be in their favor, and it wouldn't be. Also, I'm sure they're afraid of lawsuits. And so they don't want these people coming back to America. They want to leave them where they are.
Well, how, I guess, so when a story hits you like that, you're just able to go for it in a way that you weren't before.
I'm able to not have to give false equivalence.
Right.
And say, well, it's this. It's just wrong.
Right.
It's just wrong. People have due process. They presented no evidence. I'm sure some of these people are really bad, and I think if you're bad and you're a gang member, of course you should be deported. But to run up on a tough student who wrote something in a newspaper that you didn't like, she was pro-Palestinian. American students, white liberal American students have been doing this since the 1960s. And if you look at what she wrote, it wasn't even that bad. And so for them to accost her and abduct her in broad daylight is just beyond the pale and with no evidence and no due process. That's really, to me, un-American.
I find this very chilling. I find this to be a very chilling harbinger of what could be coming. We're not even 100 days in. I guess every time I open my mouth, I go, well, what do we do? And I don't know what we do other than Cory Booker has to talk for, I don't know, 8,000 hours straight.
All right, I want to open it up to questions from the audience. Before we do, I have one more question for you, which is there have been a lot of Fox News anchors which have found themselves becoming cabinet secretaries. If you were to take over a government department, which would you take over?
Doge. It's not an official government department, but I would take over Doge.
Okay, questions, please. Okay, we have a lady. Thank you. We need to get you a microphone.
Oh, just talk loud.
Oh, just talk loudly. That's the way.
Should I go hold the microphone over there for her?
That's the way we do it at the Daily Beast.
Human microphone.
Yes, we're going to repeat your question.
I can just go over there. You want me to do it? Okay. This is my job.
I like it.
This is the Don Lemon Town Hall for the Don Lemon Show and the Daily Beast. Yes, what's your name, ma'am? Anu. What's your question?
So my question is, I just finished reading Careless People, which is at the top of the New York Times bestseller list. And I don't know if you all have read it, but I'm very curious to your response or just feedback on how Meta is handling the situation.
Great question. Sam is obsessed by this book. She's read it extremely carefully, and we are fascinated by the way that Meta is handling it. On the same week that they cancelled fact-checking for the rest of us, they forced the author into arbitration.
They did, and we were supposed to have her as a guest on the podcast, and she was actually then forbidden to come on it. I thought it was a really interesting book. I think I really, really enjoyed it, and I think that Meta's response to it by putting it into arbitration and trying to shut it down had the exact opposite effect, and in fact elevated it to the top of the bestseller list. It's really well written. I think it's really, really interesting. I don't know a lot of the players personally, but I think it's a great kind of chronology of the damage that they've done, because they truly have been careless people, and I think it's a really worthy. I think it's a really worthy read. I really, really liked it, and it starts with a shark attack, and that alone got my attention.
Can you imagine if you wrote a book and then that happened? You'd be like, yes!
Oh my God.
You'd be like, yes! This is gonna be number one with a bullet.
Intro.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
And also they've got her on a technicality, which is that they're claiming that she broke her non-disparagement clause in her severance agreement. They haven't gone after her because they're saying anything in the book is untrue, right? So it's a classic workaround.
Yeah.
In the way that Donald Trump said he was going to injunct Michael Wolff's first book, Fire and Fury, but didn't.
Yeah.
And they just let him.
Is there an attorney in the room? I've been told that non-disparagement or non-disclosure, there's really tough to enforce. Like,
They're very tough to enforce.
yeah, so it's like if you do it, you're just basically signing. It's basically to scare people so that you scare them into not talking. But look at what happened with Stormy Daniels and then Susan McDougal. Like they all, not Susan McDougal, what's her name? McDonald, whatever her name is. And they basically told their stories, and Donald Trump never sued them because they signed a non-disclosure agreement or non-disparagement, and nothing ever happened. It's very tough.
Very tough. All right, next question. Okay, lady down here, then.
Julie.
Hello, lady down
My
here.
friend
What's your name?
Julie.
My name's Julie Dermer. I have a question for Sam.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sam,
Yes.
would you ever consider doing the Not the White House Correspondents dinner
Oh, I know.
as you did in 2016? And if so, like for all these people that are now banned and won't go,
Right.
and would you be nervous? Like, what would go through your head about having something like this?
By the way, I was there last time. Do you
I
remember? And the company got mad at you. I thought it was funny.
I
Do you
know,
remember that?
the company was so mad at me. Oh my goodness.
Because she roasted us, and I'm like, yes, that's great.
Yeah,
Back
you're-
up
that's what you're
and just
supposed to do.
explain to
Okay.
people what it was, because not everybody will
So
know.
I guess in 2017, was it?
2017.
We, as the show that I had at the time, which was called Full Frontal, we wanted to create, Donald Trump had announced that he was not going to attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we were so angry about, attacks on the press. It was unbelievable. We wanted to support journalism, so we just didn't feel like the traditional mode was sufficient for the moment. It was not meeting the moment, so we intended to create some counter programming to that event, and we did it twice in during the Trump presidency, and they were both so fun, and we did get in a lot of trouble because we roasted
You got in
CNN, and
good
that
trouble.
we got in good trouble with
Yeah.
CNN because that was
Would you
our
do it
parent.
again, as she said?
Would I do it again? I don't have the ability to do it again, but certainly I would do it
Yes, you
again.
do. You
Yeah,
can do it on your
we could figure
podcast.
out a way
Do
of doing
it.
it
Yeah.
That's an
again.
interesting.
And
We
you-
could. I mean, it's a little shocking that the White House correspondents dumped Amber Ruffin as unceremoniously as they did.
When you acquiesce, when you give over, when you comply, when you pre-comply
Mm-hmm.
with Donald Trump, you get nothing out of it. There's no benefit. You get nothing from it.
Yeah.
You might as well just, it is your job to speak truth to power,
Yeah.
not power to truth. It's backwards. We have it backwards.
Okay,
I
one
think
of
there's
the-
an audience for it. Pardon me. I do think there's an
Thanks,
audience for
Julie.
that.
We had a good time. The after party was so fun. Elvis Costello was there.
Oh my
It was
God, I
really good.
remember
Yeah,
Elvis
that.
Costello was there?
Yeah.
I would do it
Yes.
to invite Elvis Costello.
I wish that I didn't
Watching
know
the
that. That's
detective.
right.
You asked me about the bigger audience in CNN. I think that you underestimate the power. Look at what happened with Amber Ruffin, what you did. And you've had several similar things, not quite to that level, but just from a podcast that you're doing for the Daily Beast. So I think there's a place.
You know what? You
for
should
guys to do
have
that.
Amber on
You
to
should
do
have
the
Amber-
set that she would
Yeah,
have done.
well, I would love her to do that. I would love her to do
It's
that.
a great
Yeah,
idea.
we should
It would
totally
be
do
really
that.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
then
would
we'll
be
invite
really
the
fun.
White House correspondents and see if any of them come.
Thank you, Julie.
Where are you going to have it? I want to go.
All right, gentleman in the middle with the glasses.
I'm tired and old. Do you want to? Okay, I'll do that.
He looks like he can project. No, Don's getting down.
Okay.
For those
Hello,
listening
sir.
and
What's
not
your name
watching.
and what's your question?
Hey, my name is David. My question's for you, actually.
Uh-oh.
So I worked at TikTok for 4 years. I'm really curious to hear about, now that you're independent, how you're thinking about your overall content strategy. You're doing Substack, TikTok, YouTube. Tell me, what you're trying to achieve, what audiences you're trying to reach, and what your vision is. Is it to build Mr. Beast empire for media, news? How are you thinking about your content strategy?
Well, first of all, I would like to get some sleep because if you, seriously, I work my ass off. I'm up early and late. This is the head of my social media guy, but social media, from Respective Collective. If you guys want social media, it's great. What is my strategy? I want to meet the audience when, excuse me, My commitment to myself was to meet the audience where it is and to find the audience wherever it is. The audience, quite frankly, I'm not saying that because I'm not there anymore. It's not on cable news, and you know that. There's still a place for legacy media, but where people are getting their news and how they're getting their news now, social media, shorter clips. So every day they're like, these guys are like, please give us some breaking news, give us some whatever. As I was sitting here, I did some news because that's how people are getting their news. So my commitment is to meet the audience where they are. It is paying off because as I walk down the street, it's not just an ego boost, I've joked about that, but all the time people are saying, I saw your interview, I love your TikToks, I watch you on Instagram, I watch your lives on YouTube. YouTube has become the biggest network in the world, and so my goal is just to inform people wherever they are. That's it, and it just happens to be on social media right now.
But I would like you to have a Mr. Beast style line of chocolate bars and a Squid Game-like game show.
Okay, we're getting merch and whatever. We're gonna do that.
Okay, good.
But guess
You're
what?
getting
I've
merch.
never watched Mr. Beast. I'm sorry, and he sends me the Feastables all the
Please
time.
don't apologize to me.
I've never watched it.
I also don't watch
I don't
Mr. Beast.
watch. I don't like to be in competition. I want to do what I do myself. You know what I
I
mean?
want to know what kind of merch you're getting. Are you doing underpants? I think the Don Lemon line
Wow.
of underpants would do really well, especially from the people that like to see you dance in your
It
living
is
room.
lemon. It would make a lot of things smell a lot better. And it would be lemon scented underwear, I think.
Awesome. Okay, I'll order
That's
some.
that's
I'll
what
be
I
your
mean by
first
that.
orderer.
I hope you guys understood what I was saying.
I think we did. I think there's some bewildered looking
Lemon
faces,
fresh.
some appalled looking faces actually. They're like, oh no.
Lemon Fresh Joy. Do you guys, anybody old enough to remember Lemon Fresh Joy? No? The slogan, Lemon Fresh Joy. It's underwear. Anyways.
Okay, next question, please. Lady in white, and then we'll come to the gentleman lounging in the very comfortable leather chair.
I feel like Phil Donahue. Anybody old enough to remember that? Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, Phil Donahue.
How are you?
Hi, what's your name
Nice to
and
meet
where are
you.
you from and what's your question?
Rhonda, I live in New York.
All right.
I'm from Lebanon.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So I appreciated your comments about the girl with Palestine, but that's not my question. My question is, how did you feel about your departure from CNN? I don't know what else to call it. Were you happy, sad, shocked? How did you deal? Was it the worst day of your life? Was it a blessing in disguise? And how did you cope and bounce back?
Let me lay down on the couch. That is a loaded question. Actually, it's not. How did I feel? Look, everything comes to an end. So it's like, to me, that's not a big deal. I didn't like the way it came to an end. I thought I was treated very unfairly. There were a lot of things that were written and said about me that were not true, and I couldn't defend myself at the time because contractually I can't. In your contract, you cannot make public statements, yada, yada, yada. And so and I am still under contract with CNN until the end of 2026. So thank you, CNN, for the paycheck. And people think that I was let go of CNN for certain things or certain stories or certain things. I said that was not it at all. The bottom line is that they wanted to move the network in a certain direction, and I was not part of it. They wanted to leverage their relationship with conservatives. And as you know, I had this very tense conversation on the morning show, and I'm saying probably too much, that shouldn't be talking about this stuff, with
Keep going.
with Vivek Ramaswamy. And it was the only time I'd ever been called in the principal's office for the almost 17 years that I was at CNN, because they wanted to give these folks air. And I said to them, well, what is our election denier insurrectionist policy? And they couldn't answer it. And I think they probably did not like that question. And 4 days later, I was gone. And so, people think, oh, it was Nikki Haley who says none of that. None of that was it, because people say dumb things in conversations all the time. And one should realize that. And it's, if you know my history as a professional, my entire team at CNN was women. Ran my show. I put women on their first chance to be in primetime all the time. Even the people who were on my show, I gave them their first shot, both of the women who sat next to me. So it was tough. It's tough hearing those things and people saying, oh my God, you're a misogynist, whatever. So being let go from CNN, that's no big deal. I'm thriving. It was a blessing in disguise. But for the thing that hurts the most to me, that since I grew up in a family of all women, and you should read my Substack, I just wrote about it the other day, is people calling me sexist or misogynist, which is the furthest thing from who I am.
well,
that was very tough. for
Okay,
me.
well, can I borrow your mic? Oh,
Yeah.
my microphone's back now. Well, the reason they did that, I guess, was because of the Prime comment, right? What was the Prime? Why did you
I
say
talked
a Prime
about
comment?
it in my book that her ideas were outdated.
Okay.
And I was shocked that she, of all people, as a woman, would put certain, considering how society has treated women, that she would do the same thing with an older person. I was actually, I thought she was being ageist. And I thought about my grandmother, who was, who was an older woman who had these tests, the tests for voting and all of that. And all of these things that were put on women, I was surprised that someone who had been discriminated against because she is a woman, that she would be ageist about someone. She wanted to decide when Joe Biden's prime was. And it would, to the society, not me, and I said that, I said society, I said that, that she is, and I'm not saying that I believe it, but no one writes about that. Society treats women that way, and I thought it was just tone deaf for her, and just a little bit too cute by half for her to decide that, and she was deciding it about Joe Biden, who was not that much older than Donald Trump. When Joe Biden was a senior, Donald Trump was a freshman in high school. And so that's what that was about. Not that I think that a woman has an expiration date, not at all.
I thought that was so odd because you and I have worked together. We did an Oscars together actually for CNN, and I couldn't understand. I was like, no, that's so not what Don Lemon thinks. So I'm glad you cleared that
Go
up.
back and look at the tape and see what
Although
I said.
it turns
but
out she was probably right about Joe Biden.
She was probably right about Joe Biden, but also her being tone deaf just about the world. I think that I was right about her. The Civil War was not about slavery. Come on, Nikki Haley. You know, it's like, give me a break. She will say, I don't know if you're a fan or not, I'm not, and it has nothing to do with how old she is, it has nothing to do with her politics. I think that she's a hypocrite and that she will say anything to get elected. That's my issue with her. That's it.
Okay, gentleman sitting down here looking very fabulous. You look so zero Bond right now. Black shirt, black pants, you're lounging in a lovely leather chair.
How are you? I got you.
Good, I'm Xavier. So,
Hi, Xavier.
I know you don't like morning shows. But I'm a big fan of Morning Joe and MSNBC.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us what you think is going to happen when they get spun out of Comcast.
I don't think much is going to change. You mean with Morning Joe or with MSNBC?
Just the network in general, the landscape, etc.
Well, the person running the network is actually a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and she's getting lots of criticism, and that's Rebecca Cutler. Her first EP job was on my show, my weekend show in Atlanta, and I fought for her to head my show because I just thought she was really talented. So I think that Rebecca is very good at talent. She was in charge of the contributors and analysts at CNN, and it also helped with talent. So I don't think the network is going to change that much. I think they're in good hands with her. People are concerned about, what happened with the host there, but I don't know if that much is going to change with MSNBC, and especially with Rachel Maddow at the helm. I think they're going to be fine.
Do you mean when Mika and Joe went down to Mar-a-Lago to talk to Donald Trump?
Do I have to talk about that? Because I don't know Mika. I know Joe. I happen to like him. The weird thing in this business is, and you know it as well, that you have to critique people and analyze people who you like and their moves, and it doesn't mean that you don't like them, but that's your job, right? And so I had to criticize them in a way. I thought, of course, if I had the opportunity to talk to Donald Trump, right, I would take that opportunity. And I did have the opportunity in 2017, or even 2016 after he was elected, to speak with him. But I'll tell you what I did back then, and this is what I would do now. So he invited a bunch of people after he got elected, a bunch of the anchors, like the primetime anchors and the major networks and at the cable networks, to come to, I forget if it was Trump Tower or, I think it was Trump Tower, because I don't think he was in the White House yet. And he invited a bunch of us to come over to talk. And I called up my boss and I said, do I have to go? And he goes, no, you don't have to go. And he said, why don't you want to go? I said, because we're going to sit there and he's just going to demonize us and he's going to talk shit about us. And why would we put ourselves through that? And I said to Jeff, I said, what I will do is I will put in a request to interview him so that we can be transparent and public about it. And I just don't want to sit there in an off-the-record meeting and have him berate us, and then have him and his folks leak it to the media, and then and that's exactly what he did. So this time, rather than going to Mar-a-Lago and sitting down in a private thing and going down to him, I would have said, I would love to speak to you, but let's do it at Mar-a-Lago or anywhere else. Let's do it on the record. Let's do it for an interview for the American people, because I think it's important, especially considering how people feel about the media now and feel about you. Let's get this on the record. You are going to be the president of the United States. I respect that, but I think this interview should be transparent and public. That's what I would have done. They did not do that. Perhaps they offered it and he didn't do it, but that's what and otherwise I would have said, no, thank you.
Well, we had Mika on the podcast, actually one of our best performing podcasts, where people were so interested about it, and she explained that they'd gone because they felt they had the opportunity, they wanted to talk to him, he'd been voted in.
Well, also, I mean, there was an additional element to it, and I remember talking to Mika about this, which I did understand this aspect of it, because she is so committed to women's health issues in particular, and she felt like having the opportunity to possibly move him on that issue was her job. And I think, you know, as she explained it to us, she felt like, I have the opportunity, it's sit down, it's informal, like I will press him on the issues that I care about in the only way that I know how, in person, because he does respond to in-person things. And of course, it had absolutely no effect, and had the effect of blowing up their worlds for quite a long time, and they feel to the left of criticism. But I did understand that. I mean, I don't know him. I don't want to talk to him. But I do understand that perspective. I mean, everybody thinks they can move him, but ultimately he's not really moved by
I don't have any
anything
sort of sense
other
that one
than-
can move him, but I just think as a journalist's job, your job is to observe and report, right? And it almost doesn't matter if you're in a compromised position, because you can always report the fact you're in a compromised position. But as a reporter, as a journalist,
Right.
it's always better to sit in a room with someone
Agree.
than have someone else's point of view on it. You get to smell someone, you get to see them, you get to observe them, you get to watch them, and you can come away with your own opinion. And you were there, and you may have felt compromised when you were there for CNN, but now you can talk about it in
Yeah,
a way that
but-
feels much more unfettered.
I don't know if it was off the record or not. I don't know. And like I said, they made the choice that they made. I would have made a different choice. And especially they had sort of been the opposition to Donald Trump. So I think you have to sort of read the room. It was shocking to a lot of people. And again, I like Joe. I don't know Mika. And, you know, from what I see her on television, I really like her. I like that she has this know your value thing for women. I love that. But I think that I just would have, I feel that they didn't really read the room, and that it was kind of about them rather than the American public. And I think you have to take the American public's sentiment into consideration sometimes. And would I like to be in a room? Sure. But do I want to be considering that sitting in a room with him at Mar-a-Lago without a camera and without any way of being able to report it? No, I don't think I would want to. At least I would have asked and have pushed to have an interview. Maybe he'll do it now, but I doubt it. But, you know, I've said this on Bill Maher, and I've said it before. I think a large group of, I think a big faction of the MAGA movement is racist. And as a black man, and bigoted and homophobic, and as a black gay man, I just can't. And I believe it is true. As the evidence is there. Look at how they, the criticism of me is often based in racism and homophobia.
Right.
And all you have to do is sort of listen to what MAGA people say and what they stand for, and what the head of MAGA has done, and how MAGA, the inception of MAGA was from, show me your birth certificate.
Right.
And so let's just go from there. And so I just can't. And that it's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Right.
And look, culminating till today, the person, he wasn't a MAGA person, but it was Strom Thurmond, who was a member of the Republican Party, who filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Right.
And then now you have a black man who is, broken his record. And I think that's probably not going to go over well with some MAGA folks. But yeah, I don't have to be friends with you, but I can sit down or I can have a conversation with you.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to call this podcast to order because these poor people have got to get out and eat in the most fabulous restaurant in Zero Bond, and there are some delicious things on the menu. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much for your questions. I want to thank the team at Zero Bond for making this possible. To Scott, to Brad, Carolyn, Omar, and Sophie, thank you very much for organising this. Thank you to everybody here. Thank you to the live audience for coming tonight and being part of our first live taping. Thank you to Don Lemon for being fabulous first guest. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it with everybody you know and some people you don't know. And Sam?
I've forgotten what I'm supposed to say. I think we're supposed to email it.
You're supposed to say.
I think I'm
That's
supposed
why
to
you
say
have a
something
script.
about. I have a script, but I put it down because I was so fascinated by
This
what's happening.
podcast was produced by
No, let
such
me
and
see
such. Our
yours. I'm gonna have
engineer
to
is
read
this
yours.
person.
Okay,
I've
she's going to
lost
read
my
mine.
place.
You just have one
yes.
line. You have one line at the
No,
end.
you have to keep sending emails to beastpod@thedailybeast.com because Joanna reads all of them and personally
I
responds.
take feedback.
Can I say
I
something?
take feedback, yes.
Make sure you go to YouTube for the Don Lemon Show. Sign up. Go to substackdonlemon.com
Fair.
and sign up for my Substack.
We can't leave you without some final words from my personal muse, the First Lady of the United States of America,
Melania Trump.
who's saying it again, and I think we should all take this to heart. Get out there and be best.
I told you it was Melania. I told you it was Melania.
It's Be Beast. Be Beast.
Also be beast.
Okay.
I really don't care, do you?
I really don't care.
What was she thinking with that jacket? The Daily Beast podcast is produced by Sarah Demonkoff, Svea Baron Reinstein, Jesse Cannon, and Seamus Calder. It's edited by Deanna Chapman and engineered by Cam Shanken. Thank you very much for coming, everybody, and making this is going to be so much fun. We'll barely edit it.
Yeah.
Fluent, great questions. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That was great. Am I in trouble?
So much fun. Why are you in trouble? Why would you be in trouble? You're only in trouble with yourself.
I really don't
right? You don't
care,
have a
do you?
boss.
I know.
You don't have a boss.